الحمد لله الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. بعد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. Alhamdulillah, by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's fadl and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's rahmah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us a long enough life and given us our iman and this gift of being able to enter into this month of Ramadan as believers with the potential of the month of Ramadan spread out in front of us. There is a peculiarity that lies with the human being, which is associated with knowledge. And the peculiar aspect of it is this: coulda, shoulda, and woulda. It is the intention of the human being, and based on knowledge, the human being choosing a course of action and understanding what should be done, what could be done, what they should do, what they could do. So, and to a certain degree, that is going to include the comprehension and understanding to a certain degree of potential. So you see all the time, especially here living amongst non-Muslims, and you see when New Year's comes and everybody starts making New Year's resolutions, and even outside of that, you'll see that people say, "Oh, I should lose weight. I should exercise more. I should stop eating junk food. I should quit smoking. I should go to the gym. I should do this. I should reconcile with this person. I should forgive that person." So there's all these I should do's. I'm making the intention, and I know that this is a good thing. I know this is something that I should be doing. Now, this is where the rubber meets the road, so to speak. Do we actually do those things? And you and I, we know that the vast majority of the time, unfortunately, we fall short. And this is the demarcation, and this is what filters those who are sincere and real in their intention, as opposed to those who it sounds good. Shoulda, coulda, woulda. With that shoulda, coulda, woulda, when you know that you should do something, do you have that strength? Do you have that fortitude? Do you have that determination? Do you have that drive? Do you have that energy? Do you have all those necessary tools in order to be able to take what you know is right and correct, what you know you should be doing, and put it into action, to be able to take each of those small steps? Because a lot of times that's what gets us, is that we look at the end of the road and we know that the goal is to be healthier, the goal is to be closer to Allah, or the goal is to have healthy relationships, or the goal could be whatever, the goal to become an engineer, or become a physician, or whatever. We have these goals and we see the goal at the end of the road, but it's that hard work that lies between point A and point B. It's the difficulties, it's the trials and the tribulations, it's the sacrifice that's necessary in order to get from here to there. So even though we see the destination and we realize that the destination is good, it is a matter of, do we have what it takes in the tank to get from point A to point B? That khair, which is at the end of the road, which we know that we need in whatever, some way, shape, form, or fashion. We recognize that we have this knowledge, this comprehension that this thing is potentially good for me. I say potentially because that there's some things that fall into that category that people want to do that may not, which is associated with worldly matters or whatnot, which may or may not be good for them in the long run. Now, that being said, we have this month of Ramadan, which has been spread out in front of us, alhamdulillah. And I wanted to take a couple of quick moments, inshallah, and hit rewind and fast forward. Let's rewind to the end of last Ramadan. At the end of last Ramadan, during the 29th night, and now the moon sighting is taking place, and we're looking back now. The da'wats were over from the 27th, and the da'wats of Laylatul Qadr and Khatmul Quran, and MashaAllah, and now the moon sighting, and now we're looking back over our previous Ramadan, and we are doing, I should have, I could have, but next Ramadan, I will. So we looked back with the last Ramadan, and we saw the time that we wasted. We saw that the lack of discipline or control, maybe even in avoiding sins. We saw the opportunities that were there that we didn't necessarily take full advantage of. And so there's this regret at the end of Ramadan. And that regret is actually a good thing, because even in that in of itself is a tawbah in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We're turning towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We're admitting that I have this deficiency in front of Allah, that Ya Allah, you have presented me this opportunity and I still fail to take full advantage of it. So even at the end of Ramadan, of course, we do istighfar and we make tawbah. And that first night, Laylatul Eid, is spent in the ibadah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So that's that. But that niyyah that was there at the end, that next Ramadan, I'm going to do better. Well, here it is. Here it is. We are in the first day. The first night is past us. It's done. It's gone. We can't go back and catch it. There's no rewinding our lives. It happened and it's past. Past tense. But now if we move forward, if we fast forward to the end of this Ramadan, what are we going to be able to say? Are we going to be in the same position that we were last year with the regrets that I could have done this and I should have done that, and maybe next time? This is that next time. This is that opportunity that's in front of us right now to read more Quran, to engage in and more dhikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to make more dua, to do more istighfar, to send salawat upon Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam. If we are having problems with certain sins and certain bad habits, this is the time through the fasting, mashallah, it is something that breaks the nafs, it breaks those bad habits. This is the time to establish the good habits. This is the time to make that leap forward in our Islam and make that leap forward closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And at the end of this Ramadan, have this sense of certain degree of accomplishment from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that we have enjoyed and we have basked in the rahmah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the fadl of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and actually feel like have a good drive and a motivation now going through these next 11 months that are coming after it. Because there is this. There is in Arabic, there's a word layta. And you hear it in the Quran, Ya laytani kuntu turaba. And what it is it is a word which indicates regret. It is something that if only I had done something in the past. I can't do it now. There's no hope for me being able to do it now. I can't go back and change that. I can't relive that. Ya laytani kuntu turaba. If only I was just dirt. So just if only none of this had happened and only I was just made into dirt and dust and just been done with. That's what the people will say on Yawm al-Qiyamah when they are faced with the judgment of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the wrath, the potential wrath and anger of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Ya laytani kuntu turaba. That forget about all my dunyawi accomplishments, forget about my degree, forget about my money, forget about my status, forget about my family. They don't care about any of that anymore. They don't even care about themselves anymore. It's not even, the ego is completely demolished at this point. It has been completely obliterated. Oh Allah, if only I had just been dirt, period. That's it. No life, no nothing, no ups, no downs, no wealth, no status, no money, no nothing. That's it. Just dirt. And another, Ya layt, yaqulu ya laytani qaddamtu li hayati. That if only I had sent something forward. So the same thing on Yawm al-Qiyamah, that people will have this regret that only if only I had prepared for this day, if only I had prepared for my meeting with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, if only I had done more, if only. I should have, I could have, but I didn't. So this opportunity, this Ramadan that we are having, that we have in front of us, this is that time. Each moment of it is precious. Each moment of it is an opportunity, and it requires a degree of discipline. And that discipline means that you and I are going to have to battle ourselves. And alhamdulillah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us the most important tool in this battle, and that is the recitation of the Quran, because this is the month of the Quran. This is the month in which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed the Quran. This is that month in which Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, his nabu was activated. This is that month in which now Muslims for centuries, every generation, centuries and centuries, now that we have looked forward to, and we have made so many different sacrifices and engaged in so many advanced levels of ibadat during this month. We read more Quran during this month. We make more dhikr during this month. We give more zakat and sadaqah during this month. We actually think about our own deaths and our own mortality, and we think about Jannah. We think about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We think about the Sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. We come to the Masjid more. We feed people more. So we engage in all of these a'mal, which bring us closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and which we are sending forward in preparation for our meeting with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now, that being said, yes, this is a different situation, and we are not able to come to the masjid as we would like, and we are not able to engage in those normal activities that we would normally engage in. But that doesn't necessarily mean that that is a bad thing. And with this isolation that we have, if we use it properly and we take advantage of that isolation to get closer to Allah and to spend time with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and that isolation actually ends up helping us to avoid sins, then that is most definitely not a bad thing. So my humble request is that you and I, that we think about last Ramadan, and we think about, if Allah gives us a long enough life, that if we see that the end of this Ramadan, that at the end of this Ramadan, let's do our best not to have any regrets. Let's do our best to get to the end of this Ramadan and not have regrets regarding wasting time, regrets spending too much time, with social media or watching TV, or just wasting time. That we take full advantage of each and every opportunity we have, so that when we get to this end of this Ramadan, inshallah, that we don't have this feeling of loss. We are to a certain degree, because no matter what, mashallah, we're human beings, and that's the only thing that we do perfectly. You and I perfect, we make mistakes every day. We commit sins every day. We have shortcomings, and those shortcomings that come into the light of day every day. We're human beings. That's what we do. That's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us istighfar. That's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us tawbah. So are we going to have no regrets at the end of this Ramadan? Absolutely not, because no matter what, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala deserves perfection, and you and I are incapable of providing and presenting perfection in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So absolutely, yes, we are still going to have to do istighfar and make tawbah in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The thing about it is, though, is that you and I, that we know that in our hearts, that when we have Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when we do what we're supposed to do, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala places that sense of accomplishment in our hearts, that we feel like I am closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We feel the benefits, and we feel all of these fadail, these virtues of all of those a'mal that we engage in. That is part of the reward from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that we feel closer to Allah, that we feel closer to walking in the footsteps of Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam. I feel like a better Muslim. I feel like a believer. I feel the difference between me and those who are engaging in kufr and shirk. That distinction between me and them has become wider. It has become broader. That chasm has become more apparent, that I am not like them and they are not like me. Allah Ta'ala has blessed me with hidayah, and they are still in need of hidayah. So that feeling, that difference, and understanding and perception of that difference, that is key, and it is critical in the life and the heart and the psyche, in the heart and in spiritually with every Muslim. So when you and I now, when we get to the end of Ramadan and the opposite happens, and instead there's a void, there's a darkness, or a feeling of remorse and regret, sadness, because I know that I failed, and that's the difference. That feeling of failure is what we don't want to have on when Ramadan comes to a close. That I wasted this month of Ramadan, that I don't feel any different, or ma'adallah, that I should feel worse at the end of Ramadan than at the beginning of Ramadan. Because as Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam says, more or less the meaning, there are those that they fast and the only thing that they get from fasting is they're hungry and they're thirsty. So fasting is not the objective. Quran is the objective of the month of Ramadan. Taqwa is the objective of the month of Ramadan. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says right in the very beginning after Surah Al-Fatiha, Alif Lam Mim, ذَلِكَ الْكِتَابُ لَا رَيْبَ فِيهِ هُدًى لِلْمُتَّقِينَ. So this Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is establishing, you have to know right from the very beginning, what is this Quran about? This Quran, it is hidayah, but it is only for the muttaqeen. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that for what? That now instead of later, we have la'alla with Ramadan. Now Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that the whole point that fasting has been prescribed for us, la'allakum tattaqun, with the hopes, not talking about regrets with the past, but now talking about hope for the future. La'allakum tattaqun, with the hope that you will acquire taqwa. So this Quran, kalam Allah, and this taqwa, they are tied together. So this is the month of Quran. So now for you and I to avoid this sense of loss and this sense of deprivation, that I've been deprived, or I haven't been able to take full advantage, that we need this Quran. It is that tool. The more we recite, the more we listen to Quran, sit into with those programs that are taking place for tafsir, the more time that we can spend with Quran, the better. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make it easy for all of us. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept all of our amal during this Ramadan. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgive us of our deficiencies and our shortcomings. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make it easy for those Muslims around the world who are going through extreme levels of difficulty. May Allah ta'ala bring them ease and use those difficulties as a means of kafara and elevating their status for dunya wa fil akhirah. Jazakumullahu khairun jaza wa akhiru da'wan an alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen. Subhanallah wa bihamdi, subhanakallahumma wa bihamdika, wa nashhadu an la ilaha illa anta, wa nastaghfiruka wa natubu ilayk. Subhana rabbika rabbil izzati amma yasifun, wa salamun ala al-mursalin, walhamdulillahi rabbil alameen. Bi rahmatika nastaghiith. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله.